Have you ever wondered why some women get treated like they're queens while others just get treated like an afterthought by the very same man? It's all about how you carry yourself, not just about how beautiful you are and what you do for your looks, but what you expect of men is how they either will or won't step up. And therefore, how you react from there is exactly how they're going to treat you. So if you aren't being treated the way you want to be treated in a relationship, you can control this in that you can change your actions. And hopefully, that will mirror back the treatment that you expect. We can control how we react to situations as well as what we will and will not put up with. So you can learn how to be even more the woman you want to be by accepting certain standards and adopting certain habits. Today, we're looking at the 5 ways that men see women and therefore how they treat us. I'll also be giving you questions at the end of every section so that you can reflect as to whether you have any of these standards and whether or not they're serving you in your life. By the end of this video, you will be able to adopt habits to become the radiant woman who is valued, respected, and cherished by her man. Welcome to Devoted to Extraordinary, where today is the first, last, only, and best day of your life. Please subscribe if you want to join the journey to become a woman of virtue. I love that you're here and reply to all of your comments. And if you want any of the graphics throughout this video, subscribe to the Substack where they will be included in the article. Before we begin, I want to disclaim that it's important to see this as the clarity that it is giving. This is an opportunity to hold yourself in a different perspective and gather new habits. This is by no means a way to degrade or name call women who hold different standards for their lives. This is always to lift each other up. To become his one and only, to become a radiant woman is what I'm wanting everyone in this community to be able to do. Notice the categories here in order to respect yourself enough and go ahead in life in a fully confident way, in that you can look back and be so pleased with your past because you kept yourself and your standards the way that you know you deserve. It's also important to note that even though you might have been a certain category in your life, you can always become that radiant woman today. What I've often observed is that women will change over time within a relationship. This is, of course, inevitable. Women are wired to grow and change and evolve more so than men because we're more based in the spiritual and the emotional. Often we will rise through these categories inside of a relationship, but what has to shift is the man's capacity to see our value. And what has to shift is his desire to meet us at the new standard. If he's unwilling to rise to the occasion, then unfortunately, I have seen relationships part ways due to this. You always have to be courageous enough to trust yourself and to trust the truth and to state your needs no matter what. It's never worth losing yourself to keep a relationship. I once watched a video that went viral on YouTube talking about the 3 main ways that men see women and therefore how they treat them. It spoke very blatantly, way too basic in my opinion, but the way that this video explained it was that there were sweepers, as in sweep them under the rug, don't see them again; sleepers, as in keep their contact because they're accessible; or keepers, so this is the woman I want to be with for the rest of my life. I think that's a little bit too generic. This video aims to explain the reason why men respond to us the way that they do. So first we have the desperate girl, or the way that men respond to as the nah. The first of her behaviors is overgiving, the people pleaser, or the girl who might not have grown up with a solid masculine figure in her life, and she didn't ever hear perhaps the words, I love you, in a non sexual way. She hasn't had the love from a man where he didn't want something back from her. She hasn't had that fatherly love and that protectoring love, or that love that generates any self esteem in her. So she is overgiving for not very much or anything really in return. She is giving far too much of herself. All of her energy feels drained down into another man. She also is the chaser, so she is forever pursuing him. What the desperate girl does best, unfortunately, is completely switches the polarity, trying to get his attention, being the one who texts all the time, being the one who calls, being the one who messages. She is not receiving, she is the one who is doing. So instead of being feminine and receiving when a man does for her, she's the one pursuing and chasing, and she's going after him, which puts him perfectly in the seat of feminine receiving. Overgiving and chasing are signs of seeking validation externally. Instead of knowing that she has worth, she needs it from somebody else. So if she doesn't have that centered pillar of, I know that I am well, I am good, and I am worthy, she generates her self worth based on compliments, attention, physical touch from other men, hasn't learned to self generate that or find that in other things in her life. In constantly attempting to earn a man's validation, she's eking out a desperation about her, and that is really felt, and it's not something that a man would want to pursue. How men see her, unfortunately, therefore, is the nah, I don't even want to be seen with her, is how he's thinking. She's easy to exploit. I don't really respect her. She's simply a placeholder until something better comes along. And unfortunately, he sees her desperation as the most attractive thing about her because he doesn't have to work to become better as a man. So inherently, these men who are attracted in any way to these desperate girls are lazy and are inherently leaning towards their feminine polarity. Why men respond this way is because they're biologically wired to pursue. In a male, the chemical vasopressin is his bonding chemical. When he does something hard with his partner, he knows that over time you're a reliable person and he can keep turning to you even when things are hard. However, in the early romantic stage where he's pursuing you, he's actively going to try to be better and better and plan dates and do things for you and know how you want to be loved because he finds that he's becoming a better man because of it. So if he's wired to pursue and you're doing the chasing, then he cannot pursue. You're leaving no room for it. Men want to put in effort. They want to be romantic. They want to have to gain you, even if they don't know it. Just like desperate girls want to be fully loved and cherished and appreciated for who they are, they just don't know how to get there. So, if this sounds like you at all, I think it's so important to focus on self worth, validation, and overgiving, people pleasing tendencies in general. The questions you can look at are, what makes me feel like I have to give so much to receive love or attention? Why can't I accept the love that I give? In what ways am I prioritizing others' needs over my own, and how is it affecting me? What would my life look like if I believed I was already enough as I am? A quote that I want to leave you with here is, confidence is silent, insecurity is loud. That desperation, unfortunately, completely ekes out of you, and it can be felt no matter where you go, just like any energy. You can decide today to shift your pattern and to become more feminine by choosing to leave that space and allowing men to come towards you. Next, we have the convenient girl, the what you doing, except it's more like WYD because he can't even be bothered to spell out the words. The convenient girl spends a little bit too much time focused on fun and flirting and unfortunately has little to no boundaries. She possibly doesn't understand how to build a deep emotional connection or a very good bond with a man before she develops that physical attraction. Men will see the convenient girl as fun and casual and someone they can just have flings with, or as we call it nowadays, situationships, and they never want to come out of that spiral. They forever want to keep her there in that loop, and they have no reason to commit to her long term. They do not see her in a serious way at all. Men respond in this way to convenient girls mostly because they don't have a reason to change a physical connection to an emotional one. And of course, the men also appreciate her accessibility and the fact that she's attractive more than anything else because she simply doesn't inspire that long term commitment in them. They don't want to do things for her. She seems a little bit too readily available for far too many men, and because of her lack of exclusivity, a man doesn't see value in that. A man might call her at 11 p.m. to hook up, but he will not introduce her to his friends and family. If you see yourself in this, it is so important to focus on a deeper connection, self respect, and your desires. You can ask yourself, am I truly happy with the relationships I'm attracting, or do I secretly crave more depth and commitment? What boundaries do I need to set to ensure I'm valued for more than my physical appearance or accessibility? And how can I show up as the fullest version of myself beyond just being fun or convenient? Because guess what? When you know your worth, you stop giving discounts. The third category is the lukewarm girl, or as men might see her, the sure. A lukewarm girl's behaviors may be incredibly reliable. She may be so supportive for her man, always cheerleading and saying that he can do something, anything he calls on, she's there for. But she's definitely not setting or keeping high standards for herself, and this just doesn't inspire deep passion from a man. She's often settling for mediocrity, hoping it'll lead to love. Men tend to see her as comfortable, just not someone who excites or challenges me in any kind of way. She's average. Now, this might be harsh to hear, but for a lot of people, this is the situation. An unfortunate but good example of the lukewarm girl is I was once at a resort for the weekend, and so was this couple who was together for about 7 years. And she was saying that she wanted him so badly to pop the question. I remember her saying, "My girlfriends think that I'm going to be returning from this weekend with a ring on my finger." And I just, because the man was just standing by her going, "Sure." I just winced. It did not sound or look good for her at all. It's just so deeply unfortunate because I could see her desire speaking quite loudly, and it's probably something that they had spoken about on their own together in private, or perhaps never even mentioned in another way other than her pushing him in these little nags in public. And it was deeply uncomfortable for everybody. She very much wants something that she didn't set up right, because his perspective of her is simply that he's comfortable. He is fine. He is getting everything he needs. He's already sleeping with her. He probably relies on her to split the bills with him. He probably relies on her for household chores or her cooking or whatever it is, that this relationship is something that he can keep until something better comes along, unfortunately. It's just not something that he wants to have for life. Her partner was speaking of her relatively kindly otherwise. So, why men respond this way is because they do appreciate our qualities. They do see everything that we bring to the table. They're probably happy with those things, but they just don't like everything that we have to bring. They aren't feeling inspired to pursue you. They also feel like they've settled. They also feel perhaps a bit bored. And unfortunately, as it was at that weekend, this dynamic tends to create a she's way more invested than him. So if this sounds anything like you, I encourage you to focus on not settling anymore. Break free from average and definitely look at yourself in a different light. This is about self perception. So you can ask yourself the questions: what am I tolerating in my relationships or life because I believe it's good enough? It's good enough. What unique qualities do I bring to the table that I often overlook or downplay? And if I fully believed I deserved greatness, what changes would I make starting today? And a very important quote for all women here is that the right one does not make you question your worth, they remind you of it daily. So, the fourth category of a way that a man sees you is a radiant woman, or as he would respond to as the yes. This is the woman I want to spend the rest of my life with. My one and only. The behaviors of a radiant woman are more than anything confidence. She knows who she is, she knows what she provides, she knows what she is capable of. She is aware of when she's wasting her time and she can leave a situation unbothered and capable. She walks into a room and all heads turn to look at her. She is self assured and she knows her worth. Therefore, she sets high standards. She has big goals in life and she is just pedaling to accomplish them. Slash, she's giving herself a nice spa day because she knows she deserves it. She also deeply inspires effort and admiration from men. So, very important is how men see her. They see her as aspirational and achievable. Not only do they want to be with her, they also know they can be with her. She inspires them to step up and put in the effort to keep her. They are willing to meet her where her standards are, and they recognize that a long term relationship is about constant pursuit, not simply, now that we're married, it's done. I have you. A wonderful quote I read on marriage the other day is that it is the end of wondering who to love and the start of wondering how to love. Men with a radiant woman know this very deeply. They know that this is the woman And this is the beginning of the commitment because they are now going to learn exactly how they can love her in every single way in her evolution in their relationship together long term. Because men are wired, as I explained before, to pursue and be masculine and put in effort, they naturally respect women who value themselves and demand respect in return. A radiant woman demands respect in simply the way that she walks, in her energy. She does not demand it with her words. She inspires pride and a desire to commit because he is attracted to everything she brings to the table. A man will always want to pursue a radiant woman because her life will be so full with other hobbies, with other goals, with other girlfriends and things that when she has time with him, he realizes that she is capable of walking away into her fun, big, wonderful life. She is in love with who she is and what she does aside from the relationship. The relationship is not everything. He sees that and he's constantly pursuing her for her attention and her time. It's because she's capable of walking away that he values her. It's because she's capable of walking away that she inspires him to pursue her. And it's because she tends to be away that he even bridges the gap to be with her. This is the beautiful polarity of masculine pursuing feminine and feminine being in her wonderful life and receiving the masculine. Now, if you're wanting to be the radiant woman, and if you're here, I'm thinking you are, the focus is embodiment. We don't just want information, we want transformation. So, what you're wanting to do in your life is maintain high standards and inspire others through the keeping of those good habits. As a reminder, if you would want the infographic that I created with all these questions and all of this juicy information, it is available on the Substack in the link down below. So, the 3 questions to become a radiant woman are: what are the non negotiable values and standards I want to uphold in my relationships and life? How can I continue to nurture my self worth without seeking external validation? Who or what inspires me to become the best version of myself, and how can I embody that energy? A radiant woman inspires a man to see the world differently, starting with how he sees her. And now, the reason why those basic categories at the beginning just don't work is because they simply don't include this very important category of a woman who is out of my league. The never. She tends not to be included because this is all dependent on the self worth actually of men. They may well see radiant women as this out of my league girl because they don't think that they have the capacity to meet her standards. But the out of my league girl is really the most rare woman who have such high levels of confidence and are so successful, sometimes also monetarily, that they simply intimidate insecure men. Men see her as admirable, but completely unattainable. She simply triggers feelings of inadequacy in men, and they don't feel that they could ever measure up. Men respond in this way because of their own insecurity. If they don't feel like they're enough, they're going to be pushed away and repelled. This can sometimes happen down the line of dating when they get to see the value in a woman, and then they wonder, do I have enough value to match this? They're wondering, will I ever be enough? Or they might even sabotage the relationship because they think you're constantly better than them. Their subconscious understanding is that you're just too good to be true. And she's a woman that I should be admiring from a distance. Why is she even with me? What could I possibly offer someone like her? That is a man's narrative in the presence of an out of my league girl. However, a secure man will step up and become the man that you're asking him to be. He will rise to the occasion because he notices your value and he believes and has the faith that he can also have that value and bring that and match that. This dynamic reflects very clearly the man's insecurities rather than her unattainability. If you relate to this woman at all, the focus for you is challenging others, balancing empowerment with connection, and authentic alignment. The 3 questions you can ask are: in what ways do I inspire others to grow? What fears or insecurities might I have about being seen as too much or intimidating? And how can I reframe them as strengths? How can I maintain compassion and connection while staying true to my high standards and aspirations? Know this: you are as you are. You do not have to change or shift or fix or heal. There is too much of that. You don't have to reach for your potential. It's entirely up to you. There is freedom where you are right now. But if the men around you see you as too intimidating, too valuable, too out of reach, don't want to do that, hold that standard. Hold that standard because your standards are not too high. Others' effort is just too low. So, to become a radiant woman and step into this category, what matters the most is that you notice where you are. So, I'm curious, and please comment below because I'd love to hear which of the 5 categories do you identify with the most, and how is that shaping your relationships? Self awareness is the very first step to coming back into reality and acknowledging what choices you've made to get you to where you are, and what choices have to change, and what intentions you need to set to make actually better decisions next time. Decision is a great word because it comes from the Latin to cut off, as in the other choice is no longer there. This is the road you're going down. It is decided and it is done. Don't judge yourself. We've all been in spaces that we'd rather not pertain to our story. But once you recognize how it all makes sense that you've been there, the toughest lessons are the best because you never go back there. You actually are filled with a gratitude that they ever happened at all. So take no judgment to reflecting where you are or where you want to go or how much work it might take to get there. Simply allow yourself to have those realizations because only when we take accountability can we change. Step number 2 is redefine your standards. Know what it is you want and go after it, knowing that your faith means that it is done. Wake up every morning knowing that your goal is complete. You're simply sitting at the end of February or at the end of March, wherever it is that you are now. Give yourself 3 months and just know it will happen for me. It's just a matter of when. And yes, if that day comes and it's not happened yet, extend the date as to where you're sitting, but simply rest in the knowledge. Don't fight with it. Don't wonder when. Allow it to be. Those are your standards. And here's the thing, being exclusive commands so much respect. People want access to you when they can't have you. If you've ever heard, this is the last of this, or this is a limited edition, you want it more, don't you? So, men are the same way. They want what is exclusive, they want what cannot be reached. Men like a challenge, they are competitive, and they will go for what they think is more fun and more challenging at the same time. Men don't fear high standards, they fear losing you when they don't meet them. The right man will rise to the occasion. Step 3, become that woman who takes action on the points that you have set. The infographic is even more detailed on how to become that radiant woman. Being a radiant woman is simply repetitive action, doing habits that women who are radiant do. It is that simple. If you think that you at a higher standard does certain things, do those things. If you think that you should wake up earlier and go for a run in the morning, try it. Nothing is stopping you other than your own limiting beliefs. If you think that a radiant woman drinks more water throughout the day, put 5 cups by your bedside and have it finished before 6 p.m. If you think that she doesn't eat certain things, don't buy them. It is very much more simple than we make it out to be. If this video resonated with you, it means the most to me if you would share it with a friend. And if you like and subscribe, it really, really helps the channel. I also always respond to all of your comments. Until next week, as my Oma said, harden not your heart, love and serve each other.